Hello and welcome back to Assetto Corsa for yet another video on the Nordschleife challenge. Thank you very much for joining me in this video, and today we are going to be going back into the past, back into the 90s with a classic 90s car. This is the Honda, or I suppose in America, Acura NSX-R, the car that gave birth to the Type R name. So this isn't an NSX Type R, this is an NSX-R. This particular one is from 1994, so there are slight differences to the first version that came out in 1992. I believe the production run for this car was 1992 to 1995. Now, of course, with Japanese cars of this period, we're going to have some sketchiness, I would say, on the specs that we actually receive. But having a look around, trying to figure out what we do and do not have, I found that this car has not 276 horsepower, as was the standard that's had to go down. I believe this car has 290 horsepower at 7,200, 7,100, 7,200 RPM with 218 pound-feet of torque, or 295 newton meters at 5,400 RPM. Now this car could rev up to 8,000 RPM, so there is a little bit of revs. I suppose that's about right. Little bit of rotation speed still to go before it reaches its red line after maximum power. Power in this is supplied by a 3-litre V6 engine, mid-engined, longitudinally mounted, and all of that goes to the rear wheels through a 5-speed manual transmission box. So this is going to be a very good car to drive, I think. It's mid-engined, it's rear-wheel drive, doesn't have massive amounts of power. This is the kind of, we know this era, this is the era, well, this one is before, but it's still around that era of the Subaru Impreza, the Mitsubishi Evolution, the Nissan Skylines, the Mazda RX-7s, the Mitsubishi GTO, all of that is all this era. And we've tried out the Skyline. We saw that got an 8 minutes 26 something. We've tried out the RX-7, which was ridiculously fast at an 8 minutes 15 or something like that. That will come up on screen in a minute. And now I guess we get to try this car out. I would like to try out the others around this era as well to see what we get. What else about this car do I need to provide? Top speed, they say 155 miles per hour. But I've got a feeling that it probably does a little bit more than that. It probably does 165 miles per hour. Again, these are all the claims for the speed. So I think 165 miles per hour is the actual top speed of this car. 164 miles per hour. 0 to 60, it says 4.8 seconds. So we'll see if this car is capable of doing that. And I think weighs it's a fairly light vehicle at about 1,230-ish kilograms, or 2,712 pounds. So it's a fairly light vehicle. Should get a good power to weight ratio on this. Wheels as well. This is an interesting one because the 1992 version of this car had different wheels to what this has. So this, I believe, has I think it's 15-inch front wheels, or the 1992 version, sorry, has 15-inch front wheels, 16-inch rear wheels, and there were 205s on the front, two 225s on the rear. This car is slightly different. I believe that this one is 215 40 R17s on the front, 17-inch wheels, and 255 40 R17s on the rear. So they did widen up the tyres on this car and made them a bit bigger. It is going to affect the ride slightly. Accelerations are going to suffer a little bit, but we should get better cornering out of this car. Maybe a slightly lower top speed, but overall better grip and a bit more of a harsher ride with the lower profile tyres. I think that pretty much covers everything on this car. As I said, not all the information is available, but up on screen right now is going to be the lap times. Now you are going to see that with the lap times, I've actually set them up so that we have the second page up. So we've got 11 through 20 as opposed to 1 through 10. Now the reason I'm doing that is, as you can see, in 12th place and in 16th place are two of the cars that I mentioned. So I think this car is going to fit somewhere within this. Now I will mention that this is a modded car, so things might be a little bit different, but I think that within that range between 8 minutes 15 and 8 minutes 26, we've got ourselves a good 11 seconds there. In fact, how much time do we actually have? 11.32 11.232 seconds for this to actually fit in. I think that it would be able to go through this, and of course we've got the Mustang GT that we took out last week that's also within that range. So it would be interesting to see how a Mustang from 2014 or whenever it was compares to what was a supercar back then. So we have a sporty muscle car versus a supercar of the 90s. Going to be interesting. As usual, I'm going to do 2 Patreon laps just to get a bit of practice in the car, make sure that everything is running properly, and then what you will see next is going to be a few 2 or 3 proper laps, me trying to get a lap time on the board. Then I'll give you what lap time it was, where it sits on the board, and my driver rating as well. If you want to support me on Patreon, link in the description, massively help me out. But otherwise, thumbs up, that would be great on this. Subscribe, comments, all of that awesome stuff. Anyway, that is enough from me. Let's get started and let's see what this car can do. Okay, here we go. So I've done my practice laps, I've learned a few things about the car, and now let's see what I can apply to the actual laps. So I'll tell you now, this car is well, in fact, first let me know your lap times. What lap times do you think this car is capable of getting? Because I'd be interested in knowing what you guys think this car is capable of getting. Obviously the 9:23 is not an actual lap time that it's capable of getting. That's me intentionally slowing the lap down so that it doesn't spoil the actual lap time that we get at the end. Let's see what this car is capable of getting. Now, one of the things that I've learned about this car is that it isn't the quickest car. That much is for certain. It certainly is not the quickest car. I've driven cars far quicker than it, even in this era. But that being said, it is a really good car in terms of just driving experience. It does drive really quite well. So there is that to be said for it, and it would be interesting in knowing what we can get out of a car like this. Now, one of the other things about the car that you might have noticed from the skid marks is that this car is well, the brakes can lock. Now, it's hard to lock the brakes, but I think maybe due to it being a mod or whatever, when the brakes do lock, whilst you feel it, it's not exactly the easiest to notice. So you will feel the brakes locking, but it isn't the easiest to notice. And of course, because we are on street tyres, I believe these are Bridgestone Potenzas, being on the street tyres does mean that you do not have the grip that you might get from a semi-slick. What's in Assetto Corsa is the easy tyre in reality. So it's not a tyre that you would ever really use in real life, particularly to test cars, but just in general as well. It is not a tyre you would be using. Now, I really am trying my best to focus and get a good lap time out of this one, because to get a lap time out of this car, I have learned that you do need to push it. You really do need to be pushing the car a fair amount to get a decent lap time. And I do want to, of course, get a decent lap time out of this car. I do not want this car to be left way out of where it should be and well out of its range. So I am trying my best to get a decent lap time. That being said, I do not know if my second lap is going to be any faster than the first, because this car is one of those cars where you can feel the car getting better and better to drive and being easier to drive, but it's also one of those cars where I think you need a lot of practice to get it right on the limit because of the way the car is. In terms of driver dynamics, we do have a little bit of power understeer, which is absolutely fine. You would expect that from a car like this. It's a mid-engine car, mid-engine rear-wheel drive, so you're going to expect power understeer because everything is obviously going towards the back wheels. You've got the mass of the engine going towards the back wheels. You've got the drivetrain is going towards the back. Gearbox is at the back. Everything's at the back. So the only real mass you have up front is maybe battery, dashboard electronics, the driver, and crash structures. That's about it. There isn't really much more that is available at front to give anything in terms of mass. So with that in mind, obviously you've got to be careful when you're, for example, high-speed corners like this. You do have to be careful. It's very easy to understeer and then end up on the grass and then subsequently spin off, and that's something you really do not want to be doing with a car like this. And also in corners such as the carousel, you might feel it there as well. You'll feel the car tending to want to push out quite easily, but obviously the camber of it does help, but you will feel the car trying to push out as you're trying to place some power on, because the tyres are not quite gripping as they should at the front. But that isn't a problem. See, we've got 215s on the front and 255s on the rear. It's quite helpful, a lot better than probably what the 1992 variant of this car would have been. So this probably has more grip than the 92 variant, but we'll have to see just how well it can do compared to the likes of the Skyline and the RX-7, which I think has been, there have been comments saying that RX-7 is just way faster than perhaps it should be. Either that, or I just was really comfortable with the car and somehow managed to get a lap time out of it that maybe all the other cars would be capable of as well. You can see that there's that understeer as you go on power, and obviously the track drops away, so you feel that. Didn't lose too much, probably about half a second there really. So this should still be a fairly realistic lap time as to what this car can achieve. It's just a matter of hooking it all together and ensuring we do not mess up. So over the brakes, braking over the bump there to ensure that we have everything lined up properly. You do not want to be too fast, although you can carry a lot more speed over that crest, because your tyres sort of leave the ground as you're going over the crest. Where you need to brake is technically that point is in the air. And so because it's in the air, you need to be able to slow the car down just that little bit earlier to ensure you're not going to be going in too quickly into that corner and then ending up either in the gravel or overdriving the corner and ending up on a really bad line coming out. Obviously gravel is the worst of the options, but still, either of them is not an option you want to be going for, particularly as on a track like this and that sort of corner, the impact of that affects you for the next 5 or 6 corners. So now, top speed of this car, I did say it looks to be about 164 miles per hour, thereabouts. I think I managed to get it up to 156, so we'll see what we get out of that. But where is this lap time going to come up at the start on this first lap? What kind of lap time are we looking at? gentle on the brakes. There we go. Pretty decent. Around the final corner. Floor it. 8 minutes 27. I've had 3 pretty poor laps in which either I've missed a gear at a crucial time because it just wouldn't go into gear, or I've made mistakes. In fact, on 2 of the laps I made the same mistake in the same spot twice in a row, which is really odd, but that is what happened. So I'm going to try to see what I can get on this lap, trying to drive it in the exact same way as I was driving it the previous laps, because I think I am at the limit of the car, but obviously maybe just pushing slightly over the limit. I mean, I need to try not to do that. I need to ensure that I drive at the limit, not over the limit, because that's going to be useless. So let's see what I can do in this particular lap. Hopefully it will turn out to be a really good lap. But even if it doesn't, I think we've still got a decent lap time up on the board. I'm just sure that this car can go faster than that lap time, and obviously we want to battle against that not the 370, the R34 Skyline, potentially the 370, if it is possible for me to do that. And this is where I made a mistake last time, so I've got to try not to make that mistake this time. Now, I think the way the mistake's happening on this is that second gear in this car has a lot of torque, and as soon as you go down into second and you're turning ever so slightly, the back end just overtakes the front, and that's it. And that happened to me twice in a row, so got to be careful on that. And similarly here, got to be really careful all the way. In fact, I guess if I really want to get this lap time, I need to be careful absolutely everywhere on this track. I really have to be careful everywhere on the track. Currently we are about a second up. It's very easy to lose that second, so we'll see whether I can keep or lose that second. There you go, as you can see, very easy, as I said, to lose the second. So we lost half a second there, just like that. So we've got to try and gain a lot of that back. Let's see what I can gain back. One of the things I've learned about this car is it's incredibly agile, but you do have to remember that it is an old car, therefore it doesn't have quite the same levels of grip as you would expect from a more modern machine. Particularly in corners like these, you do have to bear that in mind, which is why you see me doing an early upshift out of that corner, just to make sure that we're not pushing too hard. Similarly here, early on the brakes. Come on, let's see what we can do. There is lap time to be gained, but I'm more interested in just getting enough to beat that Skyline at the moment, which I think is a 1:26.4. Sorry, 1:26.4? 8 minutes 26.4. Yeah, for 1 minute, 1:26.4, and that isn't being beaten, that's for sure. Obviously a bad line going in there, but I still managed to gain a little bit of time. I could have probably gained another 3/10 there, but still managed to come out onto this very fast section at a good speed. And that is really important. It's coming out at a good speed. It allows us to get up to speed up this entire hill. And obviously we have to make sure we slow down properly for the upcoming corner. Going wide is not an option here. We didn't quite get that right, so going to suffer just a bit. Did get that right though, so that's pretty good. And then just be careful on the braking into this. trying to straight line it as best as we can. Again, some lockups, which we're really suffering with the lockups at the moment. It is easy to lock up the wheels here, but it's not due to having extremely hard brakes. It's just due to the nature of the car that we are locking up. So I am trying my absolute best here. I'm sure with some practice, a little bit in the way of setup changes, we should be okay. But for now, I think this is what we've got available to us. That was not bad. That was really good. As I was thinking about this, thinking if I can keep off that curb. I'm not sure if I mentioned it actually. If I could keep off that curb earlier and then turn it in nice and early, that would have really helped. And I think it shows that did very much help. Again, looking for this section here on the brakes, turn it in. Oh, careful with the understeer. That's not terrible. Again on the brakes, really do not want this car to be going too far wide, because that does mean that you scrub off a lot of speed. Missed the apex there, but we can use the extra runoff to help us with the power here. Second gear for this, so that allows us to start accelerating up the hill nicely. Now we just have to be careful through all of this. This is where we can very easily lose all the hard work we put into this, and I really do not want to lose and mess up all the hard work that I've put into this lap, because this has been a difficult lap to get at this rate, at this kind of speed with this particular car. Obviously other cars you can go a lot faster, a lot quicker, but with this particular car, it has not been such an easy lap. There we go. That's not too bad. That's not too bad at all. Second through mini carousel. Again, not terrible. I do not think we're going to be beating the. I do not think we're going to be beating the Nismo at this rate. The 370Z, that is. But that's okay. We got close, and certainly it looks like as long as I can do the next few corners, it looks like we've got a good. It looks like we've got a good run on the skyline by about just over 2 seconds, which is not bad. Which is not bad at all. Unless by some miracle I can get another 0.6 of a second in the braking section, which actually is possible. I think that is possible, but I do not want to be greedy. I want to ensure that I actually get this properly done, because the last thing you want is to mess up this entire section. You would much rather be slower through this and getting that correct than gaining ridiculous amounts of time and then spinning out right at the end. 24.53. Okay, I think I will take that. So that will go up on your screen now, and the 24.53 is going to take it into 15th place. I'll be honest, I was expecting a little bit more than that. I was expecting more like a maybe a 22 or 21, but I think that with a little bit more practice I can probably get this down to a 22. I think that it does have the 22 in it. I'm not sure how much more I can do below that though on these tyres with the standard setup. So there you go. That is where that one goes nicely into 16th place. Did I say 15th earlier? I mean 16th. It was up on the board anyway. Now in terms of driving, what is this car like to drive? Well, I think it's a very agile car. It's a really nice car to drive, but I've driven a lot of nice cars so far over the course of this challenge. The Cayman S I think still is top. The Skyline was really nice to drive. The M3, the 30 M3 was really nice to drive. The F40 was great. The 458 Italia definitely better than this. I'm just trying to figure out whether this would go on the front page or not. It is a good car. It is a really good car, but I'm not sure if it's exactly front page material or is it second page material. Now, the second page has got the Mazda. I do think this was better to drive than the Mazda, but obviously I think going around with the Mazda again, I probably would bump that up. I think this goes around the Diablo territory. I'm just trying to work out where in that Diablo territory. And it's still not as good as the ECGadget. That was a really good car. So it's Diablo Testarossa territory. Similar in a way with the mid-engine rear-wheel drive like the Testarossa, though the Testarossa tended to be a little bit more understeer, I guess, heavier engine. So, you know, there was more mass being pushed backwards, centre of gravity goes back a lot further. The Diablo was surprisingly not as understeery as I thought it would be, but still more understeery than this. But that did have the benefits of that little bit of four-wheel drive where you had 15% up front or something. So it did have that benefit which did help it a little. I think a fair spot for this is going to be between the Diablo and the 512 Testarossa, so that is where I'm going to place this car. That is 9th place, so that's up on your screen now. Yep, I think that is a fair place for this car. Again, I think I can get a little bit more out of it than I currently have. You can just see as I'm driving around there are points where things go green, so you can see that there is that possibility for me to do. But I'm going to end this video right here, so thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit the like button if you like this video, subscribe to the channel for more videos on Assetto Corsa. I'm looking to do Assetto Corsa Competizione, bringing that back to my channel, and obviously I know Assetto Corsa 2 has been announced, so that's definitely going to be coming to my channel in the future, but until then we've got this Assetto Corsa to be looking at. If you can do so, please do consider supporting me on Patreon, www.patreon.com/ECGadget. Your supports would be massively appreciated. It would really help me out, and also you can find me on social media at ECGadget LP for both Twitter and Instagram. That is all from me, and I will see you next time in Assetto Corsa for another video on the Nordschleife challenge, or you never know, I might pop up a completely different video. If you have any suggestions for cars, by the way, do let me know. Anyway, I will see you next time.